Well, again, it's my morning. But hi, how are you guys doing? What's next? That's a question that I struggle with a lot, and I'm just gonna roll off that for a little bit, and I don't have any script, so we'll see how this goes. What happens when you don't know what's next? First of all, I always have to make sure I'm breathing. And by breathing, of course, I don't mean like actually physically breathing. I mean letting myself take time to think about what's going on in my life and breathe accordingly. So for example, if I was like running a marathon, I'm making sure to be consistently breathing at a certain pace, etc. If I was relaxing, I want to like let my breathing slow down. I want to make sure that like I'm keeping myself and my mental pace in accordance with whatever I'm doing. So if the next step has to be really upbeat and really quick and I can't slow down, I just need to keep going, and if it's a time when I need to relax, I need to start positioning myself mentally to really be able to breathe physically in that case, because if I start relaxing and I don't let my physical body start getting into a place where I can relax, because that's a thing, if you let yourself continue thinking and not breathing correctly when you're excited or whatnot, and you don't realize that you need to relax, you'll never relax, etc. So I think that's a very big part, is positioning your mental state there quickly, as fast as you can, to make sure that you are able to do that. Secondly, I think when you're preparing for what's next, you need to remember that A, you don't have all the answers, and B, sometimes you'll never know till you try. Keep pushing forward. Never stop. What's the word? Never stop advancing. I think I had a friend say it like this: is if you can't figure out what to do, take a small step forward in whatever direction. Don't take a step back, because as long as you're moving forward, you'll be okay, And I think there's absolutely truth in that, as long as you're actually purposefully making steps to move forward, you'll be fine, because then you're not going backwards. Because I think really one of the big things that we always fear with what's next is we don't want to go backwards. And sometimes we try and think that like we have to make these really, really big steps and these really, really big changes, when in reality, something I was like learning from Peterson is that it doesn't matter how big the step is, because those little steps that change the little things that you do every day are actually fundamentally more important, because those are the things you do all the time. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example for that. So there we go. Okay. You're not going to sit on a beach sipping margaritas. Like that's a one-time thing. That doesn't fix anything in your life, right? Like when you're trying to figure out what's going on next, you don't just go, I'm just going to go sip margaritas on the beach, because that doesn't fix like the bigger problems, If you're having issues sleeping, if you're having issues with something, or you want to start something, start by moving the little things that you do every day to make it so that you can get that thing done. In my experience, so for example, with this little morning podcast thing, that meant going to bed, like actually going to bed at like 11:30, 12 most days, which is like really weird to me, because I usually don't go to bed till like 3 or 4 in the morning, right? And I'll get up at 10, whatnot, like today. But the big thing is to remember that it doesn't have to be that big step. You can take those little itty bitty steps and those little itty bitty modifications of your day, and they turn into really big rewards, Like it can be as simple as going, okay, so in the morning, instead of mindlessly surfing social media, right, I'm going to sit and 15 minutes after I get up, just before I get breakfast, or while I'm getting breakfast, 15 minutes go through each platform. Total 15 minutes total, right? I go through Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, etc., right? And be done for that moment. So you can get on with the rest of your morning and get things done. So I think when you're thinking about what next, like that, those are all just examples to making sure that you're not thinking of when you're trying to move on, that it has to be this super large thing. It can just be the little things. It can just be that I'm going to get up 15 minutes earlier every day. You know, and if you're talking about like major life changes about what's next, that's a completely different story, I guess, you know. But I think those little things are the things that contribute to allowing you to do the big things. So I wouldn't dismiss the little things first. But if you're talking about like what next to do in the big things, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. You won't know until you try. And everything takes a lot longer than you think. I'm gonna leave that there for you. I'm gonna say it once again. You know, everything takes a lot longer than you think. It's not as if, you know, when you like you don't get fit over a weekend. You know, that's a lifestyle change, and that's like consistently going out to the gym. You know, it's not a little itty bitty thing. So I'd submit to you that you need to breathe in, and when you're figuring out what you really want to do next, you need to put yourself in a position that allows you, A, to think clearly, B, allows you to try things that allow you to fail but allow you to grow, and third, don't worry about tomorrow. Now, of course, if you're doing something really, really big, worry about the like actual consequences of said action. But don't worry about tomorrow in the midst of today. Just breathe in today and live a little bit more in the moment. Because that was my issue, is I didn't live enough in the moment. Like my brain processes like most actions as if I could foresee every single outcome of those actions if I did it like 4 or 5 different ways. And then I just get stuck in anxiety about them because I can't stop thinking about it. So I had to just say, stop, live in the moment, and just say it was going to happen, because it was going to happen either way. Like, I don't know why I would like there was no point in sitting down and letting a bunch of anxiety ruin the fact that I'm going to have to make the decision anyway. Like, there was no reason for that, no rhyme or reason, you know, because it hampers my ability to do what I wanted to do. And then I want to touch on this for like 2 minutes, like 2-3 minutes real quick. In that process of what's next, I want to make this very, very like important point to you. Self-betterment and self-improvement is actually hard. It's not easy. It's one of those things that you have to actually sit back and say, I have to, or I want to do this. Because if you don't, you'll never actually do it. You have to like the biggest thing about it is you have to be willing to go through pain and discomfort and growth time and time again without turning back. And you have to have a reason for doing it. So if you don't see the end, or even like figure out like give yourself small little goals, because it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be something that you don't want to do, because most of the things that are like worth doing in regards to self-improvement are hard. And it doesn't mean that like you're foolproof or you're not worth enough if you can't do it. But like sometimes trying things for self-improvement requires an incredible amount of discomfort. Some cases physically, like getting fit. Like I'm still sore after yesterday's gym, like super duper sore because coach put us through work, right? But it's going to be worth it in the end because I'm going to be fit. And like, of course I'm on a cheer team, so I have to be fit, but that's, And it'll be for the benefit of both myself and others. And that's the other thing about self-betterment, like self-improvement and sitting down and working on yourself, is that it's not just for your benefit. It's for other people's benefit too. Like they reap the benefits of, I don't know, like whatever you better yourself at. Like, so in some function, you're being selfless. But of course, it's for your, you know what I mean? Like you have to walk that like dichotomy a little bit, you know. But it's super hard to do because you have to want it, and it's gonna be painful, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. Like when you're stretching your mind, taking in new ideas that you don't necessarily agree with, and allowing them to shape your thinking is scary because you don't know how it's gonna do and what it's gonna do, and if you're gonna like break what you already know. Because if like, this is something that I see with a couple people, is like, if you shatter that, then they inside their minds almost essentially go, I've wasted however long I've been alive thinking this thing, or however long they've been like believing that thing, right? And they think that that whole section of their life is a waste, and that's not true, because you've learned and you've grown in other areas. Just because part of your thinking has been faulty, I guess, or flawed, doesn't mean that you've been a waste. Like, this is not a case of a little bit of yeast leavens the whole bread, right? If it's a big enough issue, maybe. But when you flip that around, like, you learn from things and you're able to give experiences, and you have like something to tell people and for them to live and believe and watch you grow out of it. You know, it allows you to help other people to get through what you got through. And of course they have to be willing, but you know, that's almost beside the point for what I'm trying to make. So remember that it's hard, but remember that's worth it. And you have the ability to be strong and make yourself better. But it costs time, discipline, energy, and sometimes other things that you want to do. You know, if you want to sleep, but you want to get like fit, you need to be hitting the gym, and it's going to take time, etc. So that's about it for today. Thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.